Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm back with another lovely career mode video, the My Team career mode one, and it is of course the build up to the French Grand Prix and of course qualifying, which comes before the race. So we've got the build up and qualifying, but before we get into that and going through the R&D upgrades we've got, last time we need to have a talk about last time out, the race, the Spanish Grand Prix, and what a Spanish Grand Prix it was. Did we deserve P10? To be fair with you, I'd probably say no. We didn't really deserve P10 at the Spanish Grand Prix. But equally though, the strategy from ourselves was much better than everyone else. You know, we pitted under the safety car for the Inters. The others then pitted after the safety car, put us in P1. We ended up dropping down to P10. We were never going to defend from some of those drivers like Bottas and Leclerc, Perez, Sainz, Gasly. We weren't going to defend from them. It was a matter of time with them of when they'd get through. But taking 10th, that's a point at the Spanish Grand Prix from last on the grid. We went from last to first to 10th in the end of it. We were actually below 10th before that fantastic late drama. If you guys haven't watched that video, I would recommend it. It wasn't my greatest of driving for myself. I really did struggle on those Inters. You know, it was just frustrating on the Inters. I didn't particularly enjoy it. But on the wets, we were going nicely around. Shame we didn't manage to get long enough in the dry to be able to use some slicks. But yeah, what a race. Valtteri Bottas won. Valtteri Bottas from Charles Leclerc. Leclerc overtaken at the start of the penultimate lap. Real shame for him. He nearly got a Ferrari win. That would have been fantastic there, but he takes a P2 for them. 2 podiums in a row for him. Pretty fantastic. And as you can see, there's only 5 drivers, who was actually taken places on the podium, and Bottas is the only one of those to have taken a podium in each race. He's got 2 P2s, one at Bahrain, one at Imola with the fastest lap, and then first at the Spanish Grand Prix. He, of course, leads the championship by quite a chunk. Hamilton, Verstappen on the same points. That's 35 for those two, 1 win each. And then Charles Leclerc for Ferrari has 34 points. He's only 1 point behind Hamilton and Verstappen after that fantastic showing in Spain. But of course, we had the safety car. That threw the order on its head. Verstappen really no fault of his own. I just got caught up in the pit lane with other cars. I don't know if he had front wing damage. I don't think he did. But he ended up just dropping so far down the order, because that's so easy in the pits when everyone's bunched up. You know, you can easily drop down the order, slow stop, or having to wait for the release so it can be a safe release. It's quite common, you know, so no fault of his own. Then of course Hamilton, he was set to try and fight forward towards the end, potentially for some points to get past my teammate Schwartzman. But instead he then got caught up in the incident when Russell spun round. He was denied points for Williams. And then, of course, my teammate Schwartzman couldn't take any points because he then went into Russell. Real shame for him, because Schwartzman was going really nicely, then was set to take points for the team. And first points for him, which would have been fantastic. But that all went wrong, came crashing down towards the end of the race on the last few laps. Then, of course, we had another safety car, leaving us with just 2 laps of racing. Nice to see Lando Norris with an MK result, actually taken more than 1 point in that one, 8, which is a bit of an improvement. He's be hoping to climb back up the order towards his teammate Ricardo Sainz. And then Leclerc's quite a bit ahead of the likes of Ricardo and Sainz and Gasly. You can see Ricardo and Sainz, same points, 24. Gasly has 22. It's really, really close in that area, but Leclerc's getting away from them. And that, of course, means in the constructors, Ferrari have quite a lead on McLaren. It's not double points, but it certainly nearly is. 8 off being double. They're in a very comfortable position. So are Mercedes. They've got 31 more points than Red Bull. AlphaTauri looking solid at the moment for 5th. That's probably where they're going to finish. Our target is 6th for this season. That's where we are at the moment. But we're going to have to be wary of Aston Martin, 5 points behind us. In terms of the Drivers' Championship, Bottas, of course, running away with it, as I was saying. Then Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc really close to the back of them. And then Perez only 3 points off Leclerc. Then you've got the next three of Ricardo, Sainz and Gasly. They're separated by 2 from 6th to 8th. We're in a bit of no man's land in 9th, 7 points behind Gasly, but also 6 points ahead of Norris. Norris should probably get ahead of us at the end of this one, maybe after this race at, I do believe, Austria. And then Vettel, P11. He could actually stay there. Wouldn't be surprised to see him P11. Tsunoda, P12. That's possibly where he'll finish. Stroll, yeah. But one thing's for certain. The Alpines are struggling. You can see they're dropping away from this group. You can see how close it is between AlphaTauri, Aston Martin and ourselves. As it stands, Alpine are quite a chunk off. They're closer to Alfa Romeo than they are to ourselves. If we have a look at this R&D progress, you can see the three of us are so close together, specifically us and Aston Martin. But Alpine are slowly just dropping into Alfa Romeo, and Williams are really catching up. Even Haas are starting to put a bit of a show on and get a bit of a move on. They certainly need to. In terms of the R&D in progress, we are getting some weight reduction, engine cover, and aerodynamics going. Of course, we've got these rear wing outer strakes still waiting for them to be able to get the rear wing upper flap. That could be quite a big one. I think that's a major. There's, of course, the option for the roll dampers on the tyres. We could go for that. Spark plugs, and then a few minor gearbox durability potential upgrades. As you can see, Ferrari do lead the battle against McLaren in the R&D by quite a chunk. McLaren are dropping away, Ferrari are staying steady. Meanwhile, Red Bull and Mercedes rage on constantly. You know, it was Red Bull minimally ahead at Bahrain, then way ahead for R&D at Imola, even though it didn't show, and now they are a little bit behind Mercedes at the Spanish Grand Prix. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, of course, for the French Grand Prix. There is quite a gap, but we do get a season break on the 24th. And you can see there's a press interview down there. Let's
parts have completed without issue.
Go forward a bit. Lovely.
For the next race weekend. We need your input on how to address an issue concerning our driver.
Inject some variety into Schwartzman's simulator program. Making some changes to today's session. What do you want us to focus on? Consistency or racecraft? So either increase experience or racecraft. Experience is just so important in F1. That's going to help us with R&D. Consistency is important. Overall raceability, yes. But this is a tough one. But I think consistency.
Not an easy decision, but you handled it well.
It's not an easy decision, is it? You know, but it's a good decision to make because you're getting an advantage either way. You can see that his race is not that great, but the experience is so low that does need to come up. It's important. It really is important. He's now 7 acclaim. If we have a look at the driver market in terms of acclaim, you look further down the order and Schumacher and Tsunoda already at 8. So granted, Mazepin's behind, but hopefully you can climb back up to the likes of Tsunoda and Schumacher, the other two rookies. So there we go, nice little department event. Lightweight pistons have gone down well. Oh dear, dear.
We were expecting some new developments to come through, but some of them have failed quality control. We'll need to tell the team what to redevelop via the R&D screen.
That's a bit of a blow. That's not going to help us. In the R&D, we've moved ahead of Aston Martin for the moment, but I think they'll get back ahead of us. We get some more R&D points there.
Sooner or later, you'll probably be asked by the media who you consider to be your rival. Think carefully who you select, as while you will receive a claim for beating them, you'll lose a claim if you fail to do so.
Well, that's actually quite well timed there, because we might get asked that in the press interview. I'm going to show that to you guys. You haven't seen the press ones, many of those from me that I've done after the races, so I'll show you some of them. Our departments, then, we can get an upgrade going, and I think we might go with the powertrain resource point generation. That's what we're going to go with, and that will be in actually just before the season break, so nicely timed there. So we're actually doing better on chassis than we are on durability and powertrain. I don't really want to do an aero one just yet because I want to get this one, but we have to wait for that. So I'm sort of saving up for that. I do want to get another upgrade in, and the supplier has given us lightweight pistons. Fantastic. That's very helpful. That should help us. Great. You know, that could have been a little bit later in the year, but we've got that. Fantastic. That's going to help us because actually, if we look at the moment, you can see we're right up there in terms of power units. So we're looking very tasty for that, but it is very close. Looking at the power unit, you can see there's a lot of cars from Mercedes down to Haas that are really in the AlphaTauri, a bit further out, and Alpine are miles behind, but really close in terms of the powertrain. But that's not too bad for us at the moment. So in terms of the upgrade, I kind of want to go for a tyre wear upgrade. That would be helpful, but we need some more R&D points. So hopefully we'll get some of them soon. On to the press interview in a second. Yep, they've given us that. Nice from Ferrari. Oh dear, I've forgotten about this. Isn't that frustrating? We could increase acclaim, resource points. Minus 10k for... Oh, that's a good one. We'll go team building. And then weight training. Dear me, so easy to forget about them. Let's go to the press interview then with Will Buxton.
Well, it's great to be back at your headquarters, and I've got to say, an awful lot's changed since we were last here. Let's dive in with some questions. A recent survey found that your staff have the highest employee satisfaction of all the F1 teams. That's quite the accolade. In your opinion, what makes you the best team to work for in Formula One?
I think it's that we pride ourselves on putting the welfare of our staff above everything else. That's a good answer. We've interested. Yeah, we are quite interested. We've invested a lot in our facilities to make it not just a great place to work, but with an eye towards employee well-being. I'm going to go with this.
Upgrades to your facilities seem to have stalled. Is there no more room for improvement, or are you prioritizing other areas?
Significant investments earlier, which gives breathing room when we upgrade again. We are actually upgrading our facilities, mate. That's coming in soon for the powertrain. We'll upgrade when we need to. I'm going to go with invest heavily in our staff. Yeah, they're great asset. That'll be interesting.
I saw a lot of new technicians in your powertrain department. Is this a major focus for you?
No more than other departments. Yeah, well.
Your second driver seems to be getting much more comfortable with their car. Have you been focusing on their development?
They've been putting in the hours in the simulator. They have.
Would it be safe to say that in terms of team orders, your career comes first in your team?
Absolutely not. There's no team orders here. To be fair with you, for the last one, I really wanted Robert to take points. We wouldn't have overtaken him anyway. He didn't have the pace, but I really wanted to take points.
It's been wonderful to spend some time with you. Best of luck out on track.
Well, and that was an interesting interview, and I think the most interesting thing about it is we weren't asked about a rival in that one, which is a little bit interesting. In terms of driver perks, these are quite interesting. We can actually do these. Social media team, boost driver acclaim, power mapping. Reduce engine wear by 10%, that'd be helpful. Then, of course, media coaching. And then resource point income boost. I think we're going to get some media coaching. That should be helpful for us. Quite expensive, I know, but it is worth it. Because that should help us in these lovely interviews. So, yeah, no rival yet at the moment. Hopefully we get one soon. Maybe after French GP qualifying. Of course, that's the next one coming up, so hopefully we might get one there. I actually want one for some reason. I think it'd be good to have a bit of a battle with someone. Sort of focus battle. I know we've got activities going to make.
We've got an issue we'd like your input on.
Social media team would like budget approval for proposed online video series that focuses on Schwartzman's day-to-day routine throughout the season. It might be a little costly, but I think that's had the potential to significantly bolster their public image. I actually think that's a good idea. 50k, but
Thanks. I know these kind of decisions can be challenging.
Him having that acclaim is going to give the team more acclaim eventually. And also, I want my team to get somewhere in teammate to get somewhere in F1. I want him to get somewhere in F1. Let me find it. There we are. Yeah, now he's got 8 acclaim, which he's back with those other rookies for this season that are excluding Nikita Mazepin. In terms of the engine wear, 16, 13, 12, 15, 16. Slightly more wearing 35 though. The control electronics took 35% wear last time out. That means that they're only going to make last 2 Grand Prix. Unless we can somehow keep the wear under, well, about 50%, under 60 in this next Grand Prix. It's a possibility we can use it for the Austrian, but it's a risk. So already we're starting to see that we might end up needing some new control electronics again later in this season, but there's no actual plus there to be able to get another one, so I'm not sure if you can have another one, but that is not looking great. How we've got 35% wear on the CE. That's not what we need at the moment to have 35% wear after just one race weekend. Hopefully it doesn't take too much of a battering. This time, of course, the gearbox looking absolutely fine after that last Grand Prix. And interestingly there, Alpine have just brought in some upgrades, or supposedly I think have just brought in some upgrades, because they've somehow jumped ahead of Aston Martin in the R&D order. Of course, we still have those 2. They'll be in later in June. Let's just skip past all of this stuff.
Morning. It looks like a department has just completed a facility upgrade.
Yes.
Details have been sent to your inbox.
Yep, the powertrain, they've made the upgrades. Of course, that is going to give us some more R&D points when we do get the R&D points. As I was saying, I want to get that extra chassis upgrade done. And lovely. We can do that now because we've just got that R&D to be able to do it. The question is it going to be in for the Grand Prix? No, it's not going to be in. But I think it's worth it. Minor tyre wear. I know it's minor, but that is going to help us. We need a little bit less tyre wear for these next European tracks. Well, hopefully we can go for a comfortable 1 stop. So let's head into the season break. It's a fairly long one. So, kicks out on the other side. We can actually get some more activities. Aerodynamics equipment upgrade. Vehicle PR filming. We might as well. That's going to be good for the team. Driver promotion filming. Don't like doing a department focus because, you, as I said before, you're losing 7.5% in total, gaining 5% on one. So unless you're having a chassis push, which we always are, but you get the point.
We'll have them with us for the next Grand Prix.
Yes, I do believe that's now done, which opens up this one, 1010, quite a big upgrade. So that's what we're going to be working for next. The reason why I didn't want to try and focus on that one now is because that won't be in if we got it now, which we can't, until after the Austrian Grand Prix, because those are so close, and then the British Grand Prix just after. So R&D is going to be hard to get those upgrades in. But as you can see, Alpine have had a bit of a boost. It's not on there at the moment because, of course, that's showing what it was like at the Spanish Grand Prix. But as you can see, Alpine have now jumped up ahead of Aston Martin, and these chassis upgrades should hopefully get us a bit closer to AlphaTauri, so don't get engulfed in a fight behind.
We need you to step in here.
Invitation to a charity race event is a good opportunity to get their face out there, but it means eating into their development time. Increase focus, increase 2,000 acclaims. Quite a bit. It's quite a bit. Or we increase the driver focus. We need the results from him, and focus is one of the most important stats, definitely, because you can have a really good driver. If they've got low focus, they're useless. But that acclaim is ridiculous. It's 2,000 acclaim, but I don't know how much focus we're going to get. That is a really tough decision because I want him to get the acclaim, but we've just focused on acclaim over the actual driver itself before. I think we're going to go with focus.
In and helping handle that.
Because he's got some acclaim, hasn't he? You know, he's 70 rated at the moment, not that fantastic, but that acclaim at the moment, it's not great, but it's 8. You know, 8 he's with Yuki Tsunoda. I'm watching him, good youngster, rated 77. He's got low focus, but 89 focus. Hopefully he'll be able to go into the race and do a lot better than Latifi and Giovinazzi. They're pretty low. Stroll's pretty low. Russell's doing pretty well, but hopefully that's going to help him in the next few Grand Prix to get some good results. Aero equipment upgrade, running costs, and then the engine cover.
Have completed without issue. They'll be on the car ready for the next
Fantastic. That's going to help us, because in the chassis department now, we're looking pretty good, and we can actually get the cable assembly. That is a minor weight reduction, but you can see we are really looking good in that, way ahead of our midfield counterparts. The other drivers in the midfield, it's just Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull in front of us on that. Another department.
How do you want to handle this?
Racecraft or awareness? Awareness or racecraft? Schwartzman feels a bit pushed extremely hard recently and have requested some personal time to give them a chance to recharge. Support we focus on training right now. There'll be time to relax later. Allow them to take the day off. I would probably allow them to take the day off, because I do think that if they don't get any rest, it's bad. But I would probably prefer some more racecraft and awareness at the moment. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'd rather have him finish P10 and DNF in the next 2 races than finish P16 twice. We're going to go with that.
Thanks for handling that.
Because his racecraft is a bit lower because we took that down. So that's now increased. We've lost a bit of awareness. Pace is all right. Great focus. So we're looking pretty good with him for the French Grand Prix. More weekly resources, and we've got a good chunk of R&D points at the moment. But I'm probably going to focus on that. That's going to be a big upgrade. I'm not really going to focus on this at the moment. We're pretty much virtually done on the things we can do with Spec 1. Because that's Spec 2, Spec 2. I think we can do these 3 and that, but we're certainly making our way through it. 3 out of 6 on this, 4 out of 8, 0 out of 5. In terms of powertrain, yeah, so we're going to focus on getting this upgrade on the aerodynamics when we get some more R&D points. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. Unless we get another event, we don't. That is everything before the French Grand Prix, but actually we've got a very decent amount of money. So we can go for another one, which I think we're going to go with for resource point generation, this time on durability. That's going to be in for the 29th of June, which is just after the French race weekend, which means we'll have that in to get some more R&D points to try and push us further up the order, which is what we need. So that's everything that we need to do before the race. We've gone through the R&D time, made some decisions, a lot regarding our teammate. And that's pretty much everything to do before the French Grand Prix qualifying. And we're going to get into that pretty much now. But before we do, don't forget to hit the like button, smash it down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I know it's a pest, but please don't forget. It means a lot to me, and I can't make videos without it. But we're going to get into some actual action for the French qualifying. Well then, guys, I'm sure you're expecting this to be qualifying. I'm going to get onto that in a minute so you guys can watch some action, but I just really want to show you this. Red Bull are back at the top by quite a bit on the R&D. There's been some last-minute upgrades in for this Grand Prix, and as I'm sure you can see, Red Bull getting away from Mercedes, and Ferrari well ahead of McLaren. They're closer to Mercedes than they are to McLaren, so Ferrari looking really good. They could potentially be fighting for the podium yet again this weekend. Then you've got McLaren down in P4 in the R&D. They're also P4 in the standings for the constructors, and as I'm sure you guys can see, they are not looking too great for this weekend. They've dropped way away from Ferrari, and AlphaTauri are pretty much with them. They're pretty much virtually identical there. AlphaTauri probably a teeny little bit off, which means that those two could be fighting this weekend. We're just a bit ahead of Aston Martin. Alpine and Alfa Romeo taken strides forwards. Those two are coupled together for this one. And then Haas, still making steady progress, but Williams aren't. They are struggling a bit. But enough of that. I just want to show you guys that because it's quite surprising, especially with Ferrari, what they've managed to achieve in the last short time, and also AlphaTauri and the struggles of McLaren. I want to show that to you guys quite quickly. I'm sure that will sort of go back to normal and sort of have the counter effect for the Austrian Grand Prix. But let's get into some qualifying. Now then, time for some qualifying here at Circuit Paul Ricard. Q1, I think we should pretty comfortably get through this. As I'm sure you can see, though, there's going to be some rain later in the session. It is later in the session. Q1 should be fine. Q2 should be fine. However, there is a good chance of rain in Q3. As I'm sure you can see, in 60 minutes, it will be raining. So we're safe for Q1, probably Q2, but be interesting to see if the whole of Q3 is wet or just the start of it, because if the start of it's wet, then only really the first set of laps will count, because you're going to be much slower as usual. 3 sets of softs and a set of mediums for the first 2 parts of qualifying. You get an extra allocated set of softs for the third part of qualifying. It's going to be an interesting one here, and Tsunoda and Gasly are looking pretty good for a fight with McLaren this weekend. Meanwhile, the Ferrari certainly could be getting up there into the top 4 and in the mix, potentially with the Mercedes and the Red Bull. That would be fantastic to see. They have been going really well lately. Of course, with 2 podiums from Charles Leclerc, maybe Carlos Sainz will get in on that this weekend, put himself a bit closer to the Monegasque. We're pretty much just going to get out there, I think, on some soft, put a lap in, get something down, and once that lap's down, hopefully it's a good lap, we don't have to go again. I'm pretty confident. We're looking really great in free practice. I'll talk more about that when we get into a lap, but I just want to get out there and get something down. Well then, Q1, the first lap of qualifying at France in the career mode. This is probably going to be a stayer in terms of what we'll have for the next few seasons. This is going to be one of those staples. I really enjoy the track. Some people don't, but I think it's going to create some really good racing, especially with that overtaking opportunity into the chicane. I generally go quite well around here, a bit better than we do at Spain, as we make a little bit of mistake on our first lap and certainly don't take turn 1 how we wanted to, way too deep into it. I fluffed up my braking point a little bit as we're going a little bit struggly through this section here. You can see the Mercedes are right on our back, and I think we'll have to go again after this lap. It's been a sloppy start to lap, but it usually is. It usually is a sloppy start to lap. That's not the first sector I wanted, but I know what I can do from free practice. We were looking pretty good. We didn't take as many R&D points as I would have been wanting. We didn't take 600 like we did at Spain. We only managed 500 from us, 200 from Robert, but it does mean I've managed to get that aerodynamics upgrade getting going. That one, that was a major one. Let's get that going with those R&D points we've taken, and I think we might have taken a few discounts too. What those are on, I cannot remember for you guys, but yeah, an okay free practice session. I chose FP2 this time because it was the dry session. The other 2 had some rain in them. I'm sure you're thinking, why not do it in the rain? Well, I'm thinking Q3 might be half dry, half wet. So if it is, you know, no one's going to be able to set a fastest lap on the wet. So my logic was just to get practice in the dry, because that's pretty much going to be the most of this weekend in terms of what actually matters with qualifying. And then the race, as our first lap is definitely under par, we're going to go again. I can generally go a lot better than that round here as we go very wide. And Alonso and Hamilton are playing a little bit at, can you get out my way, mate? Hopefully Hamilton's not going to hold us up, as we're going much better through the first sector this lap. You can't really get it to the left-hand side for this corner, but I really do like France. The corners do come at you, but it's not an overly frustrating track. There's nothing that sends you spinning out every time or anything like that. It's not that annoying as Hamilton should. Mate, I need to come through on the right-hand side. You're not on a flyer. You can move out of the way, thanks. I'm guessing Alonso's not on a flyer, or he's having a bad one. I think he's not on a flyer, so if he can move... Oh, he might be. I don't even know. Not doing too bad with this lap. 5/10 improving. It was a sloppy first lap. It usually is. Purple Sector 2. That's what we can do. As you can see, though, Lando Norris behind the AlphaTauris. This is what I was talking about. There's changes in the R&D, and that is proving to shake up the order. And the AlphaTauris are going to be getting even further away from us. I think they're out of reach this weekend, unless we can have an absolute banger of a result in the race tomorrow. But AlphaTauri really getting up into the top fight, as we're going to go about 6/10ths quicker here, 7/10ths, 8/10ths. We don't fluff up the final corner. Well, we do on the exit. We were going to go 7/10ths. We're going to go about 6/10ths. Not too bad of a lap. That puts us P3, and Sainz is the quickest. Perez, of course, Bottas did get held up a bit by us on our lap when we made mistakes, but Sainz is the quickest. He's ahead of Perez. Wow, what a result there. Come on, Fernando, you can go past. I'm not enough. Hamilton, mate, come on. Bit dangerous. But yeah, as I was saying, Ferrari looking fantastic this weekend. Hopefully they can get in the mix for the podium fight in the race tomorrow and get a good result in Q3 as Verstappen goes quickest, but we're going to return to the box. Well, then I'm pretty comfortable with our lap, a 1:32.4. Not too shabby at all, but as you can see, Ferrari are flying. They're so close to Mercedes in the R&D that it just becomes the better driver on the day in this circumstance, and focus could pay into it. And after Leclerc's fantastic result last time out in Sainz, they are looking great, P2 and 3. Max Verstappen way ahead of everyone else, 6/10ths ahead of Leclerc. Purple Sector 2 and 3. He's looking fantastic. We're looking nice and cozy in 5th. Ricciardo 6th. Then Pierre Gasly 9th. Yuki Tsunoda 10th. Those two doing a great job this weekend. Then you've got Vettel. Norris down in P12. He's going to have to go out again for another flyer. Lance Stroll. This is where you can start to get to the danger zone. Definitely Lance Stroll's probably going to have to go out again. 100% for Antonio Giovinazzi. He's P14. Ocon's P15. Schwartzman looking good, P16. I'm pretty happy with that. If you can get out of Q1, that would be good. He'll be going again. Of course, Kimi Raikkonen, Russell. Alonso, P19. That is bad for Fernando. I don't know if he got hold. Oh, wait. He was in front of us. I don't know if he had a problem. But for a flyer, that felt like he was on an outlap. I don't know what happened, but disaster for him. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Robert, as it stands, is getting out of quali, but he's going to have to go again. Hopefully he can improve and get out of qualifying with 6 minutes left in it. They're going to be going out soon. But Fernando Alonso's got a lot of work to do. P19. Shocking. Absolute disaster for the Alpine. He was going slowly. I was wondering when it was an out lap, and then he's going slowly again on the next lap. So that must have been his in lap. So I have no idea what was wrong. Maybe a problem with his car. That'll need to get fixed, but it could be a disaster for Fernando Alonso in Q1 here. George Russell's looking all right. Has looked all right in the last few Grand Prix, but today, P18 is not what he wanted neither. Kimi Raikkonen, Giovinazzi looking good. Ocon looking all right, judging on his teammates' pace in their car. But really interesting. Alonso with a lot of work to do. Verstappen absolutely flying. Ferrari are certainly looking strong. And then Mercedes struggling with AlphaTauri in a battle with McLaren. And we're just going to leave the rest of this session to unfold because we're in comfortable P5, and we'll have a look at the results afterwards. Well then, here is your results of the first part of qualifying. Max Verstappen, again, looking very comfortable. Lando Norris went again and went P2. A really nice lap from him. And then, of course, the Ferraris looking really strong. They could be in the mix for the top 3 come tomorrow. And also Q3, Sergio Perez looking decent. We're P6 after having only using one set of tyres, so really comfortable getting through far. Sales, Daniel Ricciardo, P7. He'll be hoping to improve on his no points last time and try to bring back the form from 4th place at the first 2 Grand Prix. Pierre Gasly, P8. Pierre P8 for AlphaTauri, looking tasty there. Then Hamilton, Bottas, Tsunoda. So Tsunoda's looking really good at the moment. He's doing nicely. He's ahead of Vettel. But Hamilton and Bottas, 9th and 10th. Are we spelling some trouble here? I don't know if they got hold up on our lap. I think Bottas got a bit held up. But also, Hamilton didn't really get that much held up at all. So, are they struggling? Are we starting to see a change in the constructors? Is this the rise of Red Bull and a Ferrari going to try and come and take some good points here? You know, Mercedes looking to struggle. Then we've got Vettel. Alonso's recovered from that disastrous first lap. He's P13. Ocon also gets out of qualifying. Lance Stroll will continue on. He's P15 for Aston Martin, with Giovinazzi P16, the last man to get out of qualifying. We lose Kimi Raikkonen, my teammate Schwartzman, George Russell, Mick Schumacher, Nikita Mazepin, and Nicholas Latifi. Kimi Raikkonen there, a bit of a shame for him. He got out last time at the Spanish Grand Prix, but not today. Robert, my teammate, sadly couldn't put in a decent enough lap to get out of qualifying. Drop down the order to P18. He'll start there tomorrow. Hopefully he can find some form later in the season, because he should be ahead of the Alfa Romeos. I'm being a bit harsh on him, but he really needs to be ahead of Raikkonen and Giovinazzi at this point. George Russell, P19. He certainly having a bit of woes now in qualifying after some fantastic results at Spain. Mick Schumacher, P20, with Mazepin P21. Of course, the reason why Russell's probably down there is because Williams are dropping back. They've dropped away from Alfa Romeo, and they're now with Haas. That's their battle this weekend. They're against Haas. And if you actually have a look at it, Latifi's drop in focus is putting behind Mazepin. So it's Mazepin and Latifi pretty close, Schumacher and Russell pretty close. If we actually go further up, my teammate is pretty close to Raikkonen, Giovinazzi very close to Stroll and Ocon and Alonso. Alfa Romeo and Alpine close, of course, in the standings in the R&D. This is going to be an interesting race tomorrow, but also an interesting qualifying. Let's get into the next part, because that is a rather interesting Q1. Both Ferraris comfortably ahead of both Mercedes. Q2 then, the second part of qualifying. As you can see in the background, it's still nice and sunny. The sun's out, blazing into our eyes for a very happy circuit. Paul Ricard French Grand Prix qualifying session. Q2. Q1, pretty decent for us. We went nicely around it. No real surprises with the end result. But of course, Fernando Alonso came a little bit too close for comfort. As you can see, in 30 minutes, we will get some rain. That's in 30 minutes, there will be light rain. But in 15 minutes, it's just going to be sunshine and clouds. So a bit of a confusing one there, because it could be in 16 minutes it's raining, or in 29 minutes it's raining. You don't know. But for this one, I definitely think it's going to have to be the softs. We've got 2 sets left here. Q2 wise, you know, you can choose the mediums, but they're 1.219 seconds a lap slower, and that is an awful lot round here. The hards, 1.82. It's really interesting there. As you can see, the stuff's so much quicker, but the gap from the hards to the mediums is a lot smaller. The mediums are a really good race tyre around Paul Ricard, but they're not fantastic for qualifying, so the softs is really a no-brainer. If we have a look, Ricciardo out on the softs, Norris coming out on the softs, Vettel coming out on the softs, Gasly softs, Alonso softs, Ocon softs, Sainz has got the softs, and Valtteri Bottas is out on the softs. So everyone's out on the softs. You can't afford to be 1.2 seconds a lap slower when you've got to get in the top 10. So it's going to have to be the softs. I think we're just going to get out there, put a nice lap in, and savour the dry while it's still here in qualifying. Then the second part of qualifying. We've already had plenty of interesting things happening so far in this video, of course, with the R&D, and qualifying's turning into quite an interesting spectacle. Mercedes struggling, Ferrari flying, McLaren versus AlphaTauri. It's a bit all over the place in this session, but it's exciting and it's dramatic, and I'm loving it. I hope you guys are, as we take out a bollard there. But not too bad of a start to this flyer on these softs. You can only do 1 lap on the softs in Q2 per set, because you don't want to get any extra wear on these tyres, because these softs do not last long round here. They certainly don't. They wear a lot, but they are very Softs. They're quick, they're fast, perfect for quali, which is quite frustrating because it means we can't go for the mediums, which are much better race tyre, but anyone going for the mediums apart from Max Verstappen is really going to struggle. Even Verstappen needs to put in a really good lap. He's been looking fantastic though so far in qualifying. Not too shabby of a start to it here. We're probably going to have to go again on another set of tyres because we're not going to need 2 sets of softs for Q3. Why, I hear you say, well, in Q3 it will probably be raining for most of it. Could be all of it, it could just be the end of it. But there's probably only going to be time for 1 lap on the slicks, and that 1 lap on the slicks is going to have to be a good lap on the slicks. As we're trying to push, but it just feels like a semi-slow lap at the moment. Not my very best work, to say the least, but we go 7th quickest. But really, because of the tyre wear, 8% already, we're going to have to come in, as we go a bit wide there, and have to probably go again later in the session. But the AlphaTauri is looking good compared to the McLaren of Ricciardo and the Ferrari of Sainz, but we're going to have to go again later. Well then, this is how it looks. Everyone, I do believe, on the soft tyre compound down to P16. Sergio Perez leads Max Verstappen. Red Bull are looking blisteringly quick this weekend. Charles Leclerc, though, in P3. Really great, no purple sectors, but he's been consistent throughout the laps. So a fantastic lap from Charles Leclerc. That puts him P3. He won't have to go out again. Valtteri Bottas is P4. Mercedes starting to show a bit more pace with Hamilton P5. But great to see Ferrari's Charles Leclerc up there once again. He is looking fantastic this season. Lando Norris P6 for McLaren. He's flying the flag for them ahead of Pierre Gasly P7. Carlos Sainz is currently in P8. With ourselves P9 and Ricciardo P10, but the pace of these AlphaTauris is just fantastic. The top 10 separated by 1.18 seconds. It's so close, so fantastic here at the French Grand Prix. And as you can see, from Hamilton in 5th to ourselves, it is very, very close. Yuki Tsunoda P11 though, 1 minute 33.3. is quite a bit off the pace of Ricciardo. He's, of course, got Alonso behind, Vettel, Stroll, Ocon and Giovinazzi. So Giovinazzi threatened to go out with Ocon. Those two certainly don't have that pace. Neither does Lance Stroll, Vettel, at the moment. Alonso's not looking too shabby. He's pretty close to the back of Tsunoda, doing pretty well, considering the Alpine's got a similar pace to the Alfa Romeo. That's sort of apparent down here with Esteban Ocon and Giovinazzi for Italy, Ocon for France. We've got 5 minutes left in the session, so I can't talk for much longer. We need to get out and just probably put in another lap because I don't think we're safe. I don't know. Actually, we might be safe. We're about 8/10s quicker. It wasn't my best of laps, but I don't think we need to go out again. There's only 11% wear on that set. It's not too bad. Don't think we need to go out again. We should actually be safe in this session, so I can continue talking for a bit longer. But yeah, Yuki Tsunoda once again, 11th place. He likes that. I'm glad he got points last time out, but he's looking decent. But as you can see, the gap from Ricciardo to the best of the rest is about 6/10. That's quite a bit from Ricciardo to Tsunoda. We're 2/10 ahead of Ricciardo. We look pretty safe in this one. I actually think, despite being 9th, we look safe because I can't see Tsunoda improving by 8-9/10. You know, I can't really see that. That's a whole second quicker. I can't see it. Neither with Alonso, Vettel, Stroll. But really great from Alonso. You got the Aston Martins there. That's similar pace to us in the R&D. But Tsunoda doing fantastically well. Despite that's probably why he's further back, is the of course, because he's got the drop in focus. But AlphaTauri looking great. The rookie doing well, and Charles Leclerc looking fantastic, and Mercedes struggling. Is Red Bull going to claw back that gap this weekend? Lando Norris flying the flag. Ricciardo will probably have to go again, but I think we're pretty much comfortable, so we'll look at the results at the end of qualifying 2. Well then, the results of Q2. This is the point where I would probably say I like to be a bit risky, but Tsunoda was about 8 tenths behind. That's what I was expecting. We just dropped down to P10. There's no need to use another set of softs. So we do get through out of qualifying. Yes, it looks like we've just scathed through, but we were actually 7-8 tenths quicker than Tsunoda behind. So Perez and Max Verstappen, it's 2 by 2 for the top 8 in the standings. We've got Red Bull fastest, and those two are very close. You've got Ferrari, the second fastest team. Those two are very close. Mercedes, the third fastest team, but Bottas has the lead on Hamilton. Bottas is looking really good in terms of the Drivers' Championship, but of course they're quite a way behind this weekend. He's P5. If this trend continues, Perez and Verstappen are going to be clawing back, and Charles Leclerc. If he takes P3, stays in P3 in the race, that is another lovely haul of points for him. The McLaren certainly looking a little bit slower than Ferrari in the battle for third. They look like they're starting to settle into fourth, quite a way behind the Ferraris. Ricciardo and Norris together 7th and 8th. Pierre Gasly, once again 9th. He likes that position, getting through Q2. No real surprises there, but he's pretty close onto the back of McLaren. It's all going to come down to Q3 for that battle. If Gasly can get ahead of the McLarens, or whether the McLaren's going to be ahead of Gasly, or he's going to split them. Where P10, only 1 lap necessary in that one. Pretty okay lap. I could have done better, but we got through qualifying. So we lose Yuki Tsunoda. He starts P11. Fernando Alonso P12. Those two pretty close with pace. Then we've got the Aston Martins next to each other. Vettel and Stroll P13 and 14. Ocon P15. Giovinazzi P16. Exactly the same order as we had at the start of that session. I don't know if it started to drizzle a little bit and they lost grip towards the end of it there. That might have been why they didn't improve, but we've lost one of the 2 AlphaTauris, both Alpines, one of the Alfa Romeos, and both Aston Martins. But as I was saying, they're interesting. Alpine looking to overperform the car, sandwiching Aston Martin. Quite an interesting one there. Ocon and Stroll, pretty close. Alonso and Vettel, pretty close. So quite interesting there, judging on how far back Alpine are. But then actually they jumped forward, didn't they? They've just jumped forward for this Grand Prix, back into it. So it's all over the place, effectively, with the R&D. But Alpine fighting Aston Martin this weekend. Yuki Tsunoda P11. Really great from the rookie. I can't say much more. He's been consistent just around that position with his teammate P9. But as I was saying, a recap, we lose Giovinazzi, Ocon, Stroll, Vettel, Alonso and Tsunoda in the second part of qualifying. Let's get down to the big boy business in Q3. Well, welcome to the third and final part of qualifying here. And not the usual intro you'd get to the separate qualifying sessions, but for Q3, it was all about us getting out as quickly as possible. It's going to be first come, first served, because the grip is dropping away here in France in the third and most important part, arguably, of qualifying, as we send 2 lovely fluorescent bollards flying off into their doom. Didn't hit that one, but yeah, it's all about getting a decent lap in, because the grip is going to go, and it's going to go quickly. As we go quickest somehow in the first sector, it felt like a very polished first sector when it's a little bit slippery because of the rain. In terms of the grip, there's still a decent amount of grip, but it is, as I was saying, it is a little slippery. It is a little bit difficult at points at the moment. It isn't the best, but it is a little bit slippery, but it still slicks weather. But as I was saying, first come, first served. It's a bit like a buffet, but there isn't enough food there. You want to get up there quickly. There's not going to be enough food for you to have at the dispense of someone else, and that's what's happening with the grip. You want to get out there quickly before it deteriorates. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo just went quickest then. I'd expect the Ferraris to improve on that, as we're a little bit sloppy through this section there. the first Ferrari crosses the line. Charles Leclerc, one of those drivers who went out early and is going to see the effects with a potential top 3 result coming along for his qualifying session. 1 minute 33 as we go quickest. My God, has that just happened? We've gone quicker than Leclerc. Hamilton's gone P3. Ricciardo's P4. Sainz is P5. Our pace here on a slightly damp track is incredible. We've still got the Red Bulls to go, and Verstappen goes slower than Hamilton. Too late to the party for Max Verstappen. We're going to return to the pits and look at the order. But biblical scenes here. I'm not sure I can quite believe this. That was a fantastic lap from ourselves. Especially the first sector. 4/10 quicker than Leclerc. Leclerc's P2 on the grid. Then we got P3 with Lewis Hamilton. Verstappen's in P4. Ricciardo P5. Sainz P6. Gasly P7. Perez P8. Bottas P9, and Lando Norris is down in P10. It was first come, first served. Red Bull were late to the party, and the whole of the top 5 has got a different team in it. Got ourselves, then we've got Charles Leclerc for Ferrari, Hamilton for Mercedes, Verstappen for Red Bull, Ricciardo for McLaren. That's not really going to change. No one's going to bother going out now, because it is definitely, I do believe it will be time for the wets at the moment. No, apparently not. But you're not going to go any quicker, I don't think, seeing as it is raining. I can't see anyone else going out. It certainly looks like it's coming down more heavily. Yeah, bit too slippery. That is going to be it for going any quicker in qualifying, I do believe. Let's go and have a look at the full proper results. I can't quite believe this. Our first ever pole position on career mode. 3/10 quicker than Charles Leclerc for Ferrari. He's P2. We've then got Lewis Hamilton P3 for Mercedes. Salvaged result after what has been a fairly disappointing start qualifying for him and his teammate. You know, they certainly have had the pace, but Hamilton got out there as we expected, first come, first served. Max Verstappen P4 for Red Bull. He was too late to the party. If he'd have gone out first, could have got pole position, but too late, and his pace goes to waste. Daniel Ricciardo will start P5 for McLaren, making it 5 different teams in the top 5. Sainz for Ferrari is P6, with Gasly P7 for AlphaTauri. Really great work from him. He went out, I think, first or second, and he made that work. Sergio Perez and Bottas were very late, and they're going to have a lot of work at the start of the race tomorrow, and so was Lando Norris. He, of course, finishes P10 in the third part of qualifying. But there is your main story. Ourselves on pole. Somehow, I still can't believe it. Absolute scenes. We're on pole in France on a damp track. We got out there quickly, and that meant we'd taken out. Bottas was out of the equation. Norris was out of the equation. Perez was out of the equation. We were already quicker than Gasly on one lap. Verstappen was out of the equation because he was too late. Hamilton, Leclerc, Ricciardo and Sainz we had to beat. We put in a banger of a lap. We took advantage of the others struggling a little bit in the conditions. We certainly didn't. A fantastic lap, and somehow pole in our 4th career mode race. Hopefully we can convert that to something very decent in the French Grand Prix next time. It's going to be hard to defend from the faster cars behind, but in these conditions we are blisteringly quick. So there's your final result. Ourselves P1 on the grid. Leclerc P2, Hamilton P3, Max Verstappen will start P4 for Red Bull. Ricciardo P5, Sainz P6, Gasly P7, Perez P8, Bottas P9, and Norris rounds out the top 10. In terms of the fights, Mercedes versus Red Bull. Mercedes slight upper hand in this one with Hamilton P3 ahead of Verstappen P4. Then you've got Perez and Bottas next to each other. That's all to play for in the race tomorrow. In terms of ourselves versus AlphaTauri, a big upper hand in qualifying over Pierre Gasly. If we look further down the grid in terms of like the positions, Ferrari with a massive lead on McLaren. Leclerc P2 and 6, McLaren have P5 and 10, but they're almost edging away. Ferrari are almost edging away so far from McLaren that they've jumped into the fight with Red Bull. And in terms of that, they also have the advantage on Red Bull. So the best team at the moment for the start of the race is ourselves and Ferrari. Ferrari do have 2 in the top 10. We only have 1. So the best of the rest in the top 10. Ferrari are looking decent. Mercedes are looking decent despite that disaster. Same. Red Bull looking decent, but a bit of a shame they had more pace. AlphaTauri looking all right. McLaren certainly not looking that great with P5 and 10. But there is your story, Q3, and we are on pole in some drizzly conditions. Still ready, though, for slicks. That's the result. I knew we had pace. Not this much, though. What a result. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and catch me next time for what is going to be a very exciting race from P1 on the grid.